The two evaluations. God's will is your salvation. Would he not have given you the means to find it? That's true, right? It's like the treasure map, right? But you know where that X is. If he wills you to have it, he must have made it possible and easy to obtain. You just don't know what to do. Your brothers are everywhere. You do not have to seek far for salvation. Every minute and every second gives you a chance to save yourself. Do not lose these chances, not because they will not return, but because delay of joy is needless. God wills you perfect happiness now. Is it possible that this is not also your will? And is it possible that this is not also the will of your brothers? Consider then that in this joint will, you are all united, and in this only. There may be disagreement on anything else, but not on this. This, then, is where peace abides, and you abide in peace when you so decide. And it should be all the time. And I know it comes in like waves, for me at least, right? It's like you're just going through your day, right? Because this isn't, and I tried to explain it, and I don't really I feel weird saying it, but I wasn't always like this, right? You weren't born, at least I wasn't, with the idea of God. All this is foreign. And it was really hard for me to understand, and I didn't want to. So, we made a lot of progress. Oh. But, yeah, no, it's your decision at the end of the day to abide in peace, And I spent years just not having peace, just because I didn't understand that, I wanted peace so bad, but I was the only thing stopping me from having peace. Yet you cannot abide in peace unless you accept the atonement, because the atonement is the way to peace. The reason is very simple and so obvious that it is often overlooked. The ego is afraid of the obvious, since obviousness is the essential characteristic of reality. Yet you cannot overlook it unless you are not looking. It is perfectly obvious that if the Holy Spirit looks with love on all he perceives, he looks with love on you. His evaluation of you is based on his knowledge of what you are, and so he evaluates you truly, and his evaluation must be in your mind because he is. The ego is also in your mind because you have accepted it there. Its evaluation of you, however, is the exact opposite of the Holy Spirit's, because the ego does not love you. It is unaware of what you are and wholly mistrustful of everything it perceives, because its perceptions are also shifting. The ego is therefore capable of subconscious at best and viciousness at worst. That is its range. It cannot exceed it because of its uncertainty, and it can never go beyond it because it can never be certain. You, then, have two conflicting evaluations of yourself in your mind, and they cannot both be true. You do not yet realize how completely different these evaluations are because you do not understand how lofty the Holy Spirit's perception of you really is. He is not deceived by anything you do because he never forgets what you are. The ego is deceived by everything you do, especially when you respond to the Holy Spirit, because at such times its confusion increases. The ego is therefore particularly likely to attack you when you react lovingly, because it has evaluated you as unloving, and you are going against its judgment. The ego will attack your motives as soon as you become clearly out of accord with its perception of you. This is when it will shift abruptly from being suspiciousness to viciousness. Since its uncertainty is increased, Yet it is surely pointless to attack in return. True. True. Yeah, it's like sometimes you just get attacked and you're like, uh, what happened? What did I do? It's fine. You can get mad, but don't say anything. It's okay. They didn't mean it. If you choose to see yourself as unloving, oh, since its uncertainty is increased, yet it is surely pointless to attack in return. What can this mean except that you are agreeing with the ego's evaluation of what you are? So the ego thinks, hey, somebody is undermining me. That means I'm going to die, which means you, the body, and your voice, you need to go attack this person. And that's what happens. And that's the cycle of abuse, right? It's just egos protecting each other or themselves. If you choose to see yourself as unloving, you will not be happy. I love you all. You are condemning yourself and must therefore regard yourself as inadequate. Would you not look to the ego to help you escape from a sense of inadequacy it has produced and must maintain for its existence? So in order for the ego to exist anymore in that mind, it has to put everything else down. Yeah. That's what happens, though. And you can see it. You can see it in yourself and you can see it in others. Once you figure out what it is, right? Because there's sometimes you just don't know what it is. It's just mean or out of character or different, right? But that's probably what it is. Can you escape from its evaluation of you by using its methods for keeping this picture intact? Can you? With the faith of God, you can. You cannot evaluate an insane belief system from within it. Its range precludes this, inhibits you from being able to look around. You can only go beyond it, or get out of it. Look back from a point where sanity exists and see the contrast. I mean, some people say don't compare it, but how else are you going to know, right? Only by this contrast can insanity be judged as insane. Right? You need a marker to look back on. You need reference markers. You need reference markers. You need universal constants. You need all those things. Only by this contrast can insanity be judged as insane. With the grandeur of God in you, you have chosen to be little and to lament your littleness. Within the system that dictated this choice, the lament is inevitable. Your littleness is taken for granted there, and you do not ask, who granted it? The question is meaningless within the ego's thought system because it would open the whole thought system to question. Don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain. It's the same thing, right? You can't set up the system and then call yourself out. You're breaking the fourth wall. You can't do that. I have said that the ego does not know what a real question is. Lack of knowledge of any kind is always associated with unwillingness to know. And this procedure, a total lack of knowledge simply because knowledge is total. Not to question your littleness, therefore, is to deny all knowledge. Right. You should be bigger, right? You were made in the image of God and you should know more. You shouldn't feel like that. That shouldn't be your natural resting state. Which, if your faith in God, you did something wrong and you need to look back on your actions. You shouldn't feel like that. You should be happy with your decisions. And if you are happy with your decisions, truly, at the end of the day, like, you can look in a mirror by yourself, in the eyes, in your soul, and tell yourself that that's a good job. Then it's probably in God. Unless you're a super villain. And then But even at the end of the day, right, all the superhero and the supervillain movies, they sometimes feel bad at some point for the stuff that they had done, even to achieve their overall goals. Even Thanos had a little bit of remorse for killing Gamora, did he not? There was a little tear in his eye, and if he wasn't staring down a bunch of Avengers that were trying to kill him, I'm sure he would have broken down. And he did a little bit, right? I mean, Gamora asked him what it had cost for him to achieve his goal, and he had said everything. And I know as a character and like character development, that's huge, right? To admit. And the nobleness and righteousness of what his path and what he had depicted it as, like, it is noble, right? He achieved his goal. But like I don't know. It's a story. Which is what the ego is making up for you. And this must be questioned for beyond it, because it is the foundation does not stand. The Holy Spirit judges against reality of the ego's thought system merely because he knows its foundation is not true. Therefore, nothing that arises from it means anything. He judges every belief you hold in terms of where it comes from, which you should as well. Look up where things come from. He judges every belief you hold in terms of where it comes from. If it comes from God, he knows it to be true. If it does not, he knows that it is meaningless. Whenever you question your value, say, God himself is incomplete me. You are just a part of the whole, but the whole makes up the part. So if that part isn't part of the whole, that whole isn't whole. You dig? Remember this when the ego speaks, and you will not hear it. The truth about you is so lofty that nothing unworthy of God is worthy of you. Choose then what you want in these terms, and accept nothing that would not offer to God as wholly fitting for him. You do not want anything else. Return your part of him, and he will give you all of himself in exchange for the return of what belongs to him and renders him complete. You are complete. Remember that. And have some peace. And get on out of here.